In this lesson, I'm going to share with you exactly what you have to accomplish in General Writing Task 1 and just give you an overview of the task and what's required to write a letter of 150 words, regardless of what type of letter you have to write, whether it's informal or formal, just to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do for General Writing Task 1. So let's get started. First of all, what is your task? You'll be asked to write a letter of 150 words. Now, this could be a formal letter where you're writing to your employer or writing about a job interview or a job application, something similar to that. Or it could be an informal letter where you're just writing to a friend to respond to an invitation to a party or a situation that's arisen between you and your friend. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at an example of an informal letter today. But before we do that, I'll also share with you some of the differences between informal and formal. So we're going to look about writing a letter to a friend, just telling them about something that's happened in your life. You've received a new job, and you're just going to explain why you took this new job, what the new job is about, and maybe add some other news to your letter. And so this is your task. And the main thing is to make sure that you do what you're being asked to do. It's as simple as that. You don't want to try and memorize any letters ahead of time. You don't want to try and memorize special vocabulary or phrases that could possibly be used in a letter. You want to respond directly to the task that you are given. And that's probably the most important thing when it comes to success in writing task 1 of the general exam. So let's take a look at this more closely. Your task is to respond directly to the question or the letter that you've been asked to write. And then you are asked to explain the reason for your new job. So your response, direct response, is going to be you've got a new job. You're going to explain why, and then you're going to give some details of what the job entails, and maybe add some other news. But this is basically the main task. Always respond directly to what you've been given. Always give a good explanation and add the appropriate details. You don't want to add details that are irrelevant. So details that are important are ones that are relevant to the topic of the letter that you've been given. Adding extra irrelevant details will only serve to lower your score rather than add to it. No matter how much really good English you show, if it's irrelevant, it will lower your score as opposed to making it higher. So when you're approaching this task, one of the most important things is to make sure you use the right tone. And this means if you're asked to write a formal letter, for example, to an employer or to an organization about a job or to a professional about an appointment, you're going to use a formal tone. If you're asked to write to a friend, you're going to use an informal tone. And this will make a difference in the type of vocabulary you use and even the grammar forms. Because when we speak and write formally, we use different vocabulary and we phrase our sentences a bit different. Maybe we use more passive than active sentences. But when we're talking to a friend, our language changes, our vocabulary, and even the way that we say things changes. So it's really important to know, if you want to accomplish the task, to make sure you use the right tone. If you use informal language in a formal letter, you'll lose marks. If you use formal language in an informal letter, you'll lose marks. So even if you have great vocabulary and really good phrases. If you use the wrong phrases, the wrong type of vocabulary, you'll lower your score. You want to use what's useful for the task and the tone of your letter. So let's look at some examples of the difference in tone when it comes to vocabulary. So let's say I was writing and I said something like, prior to my decision to write to you, this is a very formal tone. The vocabulary is more formal. And usually, when we use formal vocabulary, we're using words that aren't as common. They're more uncommon types of words, like prior to my decision. Whereas informal, we'll just say before I decided to write you. And you can see that there's a difference in the tone. There's a difference in the attitude. One is suitable for a formal occasion and one is suitable for an informal occasion. And you need to use the most useful vocabulary for the occasion that you're writing about. So let's talk about the things that we need to do to accomplish the task. As I mentioned earlier, you need to respond directly. And you're given the directions of how to respond in the bullet points. So, for example, you have recently started to work for a new company. So the best thing to do to respond very directly is just to put this topic right at the beginning of your letter. I start working for a new company next month. This is the fact, this is the direct message that you're giving in your letter, and everything else will explain and add details to this fact. I start working for a new company next month. So make sure that you clearly respond directly to the topic of the letter. Secondly, you begin to develop details. And the details that you're asked to develop are right in the bullet points. Explain the reasons why you changed jobs, describe your new job, and tell him or her your other news. So one of the simple ways of doing this is just make sure that you include responses to the very common question words. Some of them are included in the bullet points, but if you want to add extra details, still relevant, but extra details, you can answer these question words as long as they apply and are relevant to the letter. So why? Maybe we're going to mention that it's better money. What type of job is it? It's a management position. Where? You're not asked specifically to explain where, but this is an extra detail that's relevant and stays on task. So you can say it will be at the head office. When did I receive the offer? Last week. I received the offer last week. Who will I be working for? Who will I be working with? How it's going, other news, and moving to a new city. I've just added these as possible details that respond relevantly and develop a good letter for this prompt, this task that we have to accomplish. So once we've decided on what we're going to develop, what details we're going to develop, and also doing this also allows you to plan your letter before you start writing. And this is so important. Your letter needs to be 150 words, and you have 20 minutes to write your letter. You will write a much better letter if you take the time to plan before you start writing. So even taking 5 minutes to plan your letter will mean that you write a much better letter in 15 minutes than you would in 20 without doing this detailed plan. So I encourage you to take the time to plan exactly what you're going to write and know what you're going to write before you start writing. And this will allow you to structure your essay so that it flows logically and makes sense. And this is where we come to the structure, the coherence, and the cohesion of your letter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the prompt that we're given and just structure our letter around that prompt. The letter always starts with "Dear somebody," whoever your friend is. And then you say why you're writing. I'm writing to tell you about my new job. And then the details, and they're in the bullet points. Why a new job? Why did you take this new job? And then describe your new job, the details of what you will be doing in your new job, and then tell him or her some other news. And so the details we're going to add in this one is that it means moving to a new city. Okay, it's still relevant. The extra details, the other news is still relevant to this letter about your new job. You don't want to change topics and just say, oh, by the way, I got a new puppy. Or by the way, I bought a new car. These are not relevant details. You want to add something that's relevant to the topic of the letter, and then you just sign off, your friend Jeff, or however you want to sign off informally. So this is how you would structure your essay and get some good marks for coherence and cohesion. If you want to know all the details of how to score a band 7 in general writing task 1, I have another video that's coming shortly that will accompany this one and give you even more details on how you can get the score you need and approach a band 7 in general writing task 1. So be sure to look for that video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you'll find over 150 different videos about every type of question, every section, how to have the mindset, how to have the right strategy for preparation. Everything you need to know about getting ready for the IELTS exam, you'll find it if you subscribe to this channel. So here's your structure. So you know your task, you know the tone with which you have to write, and now you know your structure. And so here is an example of how this letter could turn out, and it meets all the requirements of the task that you're expected to accomplish. Dear Mike, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be starting a new job next month. I've been getting discouraged in my job, and a chance for something better and more challenging came up. I really needed a change. It's more money, too. I'll be the new manager for the development team at Ubisoft. It means I'll be leading a team of creators for a new video game. It'll be fun to work with some new people. And I have some more exciting news. I'll be moving to Montreal, so we'll see a lot more of each other. I'll have to find a good place to live close to my work. Maybe you can help me out with this. See you soon, Matt. So you can see it's a very informal tone. It's very relevant. It responds directly to the task, and it has a good structure and accomplishes everything you need to know, everything you need to do for writing task 1 of the general IELTS exam. So don't hesitate to subscribe, like this video, or share it with others. And I want to wish you all the best on your journey as you continue to prepare for the IELTS exam.